Hi, welcome to Nina in the Kitchen. Today I am making something with the puff pastry that we made. You may recognize this package. You can use homemade puff or you can use store-bought puff, whatever is convenient for you. I'm doing something that I'm going to call an almond tart because everyone knows that. However, the real name for this pastry is called a Pithiviers. Pithiviers is a town in France, north central France, and they are famous for these gâteaux or cakes. They can be sweet, they can be savory. Today we're doing an almond paste, and so it's going to be a sweet one. It's easy, it's so delicious, and it's easy to travel with, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm going to divide this dough into two. Doesn't matter that it's exact yet, but you just want to get this going into an 8-inch round. This has been rolled out to about 1/16 of an inch, which is 3 millimeters. So now we have to cut it, and you can cut it into as small rounds as you want. I'm going to do one large. So here's different things you can use to cut. One is just a straight edge. You can just press that in, easy. This is a fluted edge that's 8 inches or 20 centimeters. The other way you can go on something like this is to do the inside. Now you can take a knife or a pizza wheel and cut around, but I was thinking I'm going to just go ahead with this fluted edge and just press that out, and it makes kind of a fancy cut. Now this is a puff pastry, and as you know, puff likes to be very cold, and it should be cold when it goes into your hot oven. In one of them, I'm going to put a vent right in the middle, and I'm just using a pastry tip. I'm going to use the bottom of a pastry tip and measure out where the middle is, and I'll just use that as the vent. And now these two pieces are going right back in the refrigerator. Well, we're back. The puff pastry is now in the refrigerator chilling, and these are the ingredients for the almond paste, or another word for this is Frangipane. 3/4 of a cup, that's about 115 grams of almonds, and I lightly toasted these. You can also do this in the bowl of your blender. I'm going to mix that with 1/2 cup. That would be 100 grams of sugar. This is 1/4 cup. That would be about 60 grams of flour. That's all-purpose flour. 1 egg, 1 tablespoon of dark rum, and this is 1/2 stick, 4 ounces of butter, unsalted butter. What I'm going to do is pulse this until you get something like an almond flour. And the reason for the pulses rather than running it is because if you run this, the blade moves so quickly, and this is the same for if you're doing this in a blender. The blade moves so fast that that rotation will heat up the almond oil, and it turns it into a paste rather than the crumb that you want. So I'm going to pulse this. These are 1-second pulses. I'm doing it for 30 seconds, and then we'll see where we are. And that's nice. It's like a fine sand right now. That's perfect. So at this point, I'm going to put the flour in, and I'm just going to mix it up. Again, 2 pulses, that's all. This is 4 ounces of butter, like I said, and I cut it into this small dice. So that goes in. You can scatter that around. Just chop that up. Then we have, this is 1 tablespoon of rum. And I have 1 egg, and I think that's all that I need. This is 1 large egg. All that you want to do is make like a paste out of this and make sure that everything's bound together. This is perfect. It's not very wet, but it's definitely malleable. That's exactly what I want. Now it's just time to put everything together, and this is how easy it is. I have my 2 pieces of pastry, which are now chilled. And I just put the Frangipane right into a pastry bag. I cut the tip off of it. And you can do this with a spatula. You can spread it out. What you want to do is make it so that the filling is about 1 inch high, and you want to keep the edges free. Because remember, this is going to spread out as it goes into the oven. And then the second layer goes on top. Very simple. Now you can take something a little smaller and use that to press the edges like that. The idea is, and then you just take your fingers and you press down. The idea here is that you want this at the end to look sort of like a flower. You want to make sure there's no air pockets on the filling. So you press down and sort of out. One thing that you want to do, or one thing that you can do to make this look more like a flower, is use the back of a knife and you just push everything in towards the center. And just go right around like that. And the classic look for Pithiviers is where you get a sharp knife and you go from the center and you score it around. And you can do that about every 1/2 inch or so. My oven is telling me that it's now up to temp. I have it at 375, which is 190 Celsius. What I'm going to do is put this whole thing back in the refrigerator. And at this point, you actually have some choices. You can put this in the freezer and keep it for another time. This is a fun thing that you could bring to a dinner party. By the time you get to your party, you may end up with this being semi-frozen. Throw it in the oven and you have a lovely little dessert. Just make sure that you're not going right through the pastry. This is going back into the refrigerator for a few minutes. I want it to get chilly before I put it in the oven. And by the way, in the oven, I have an insulated pan, just like this one, and that's heating up with the oven temperature. I'll be back in about 20 minutes to put this in the oven. I have this hot pan straight from the oven. I'm just going to transfer the Pithiviers onto the hot pan. And I did an egg wash when I put it in the refrigerator. I'm going to do another one just to kind of seal the deal. And again, this oven temp is at 375, which is 190 C. This will take about 22 minutes or so. When it's puffy, golden brown, and delicious, that's when it's ready. So keep your eye on it, and I'll see you then. Well, here it is, the almond tart, or the Pithiviers, whatever you want to call it. Look at that, how beautiful. This is going to have to come down in temp a little bit. You want to serve this warm, but not hot. So I'm going to let this set up for just a minute, and we'll be back later to cut into it. It smells so good. This is our gâteau, our Pithiviers. Let's cut into this. It smells so good, and it's still on the warm side, which is perfect. I just think it's such a pretty and yet simple dessert. Oh, it's so good. This is so delicious. It's light, flaky, rich, almondy, and almond is also delicious paired with apple or pear. You can sort of put a layer in there, if you will. I hope you try this. You saw how simple it was to go together. Really delicious dessert. Simple, travels well, freezes well. Thank you so much for watching Nina in the Kitchen. Please like and subscribe, and please come back for more stuff. Thanks, guys. Bye.